the budget-friendly tri-fold aluminum bed cover. Or one of the craziest bed covers that money can buy. This Retrax EQ, this thing is wild. And I just did the math on our 2020 Silverado Trail Boss that we've been modifying uncontrollably for the past 3.5 years. We are now going to have $20,000 in miscellaneous upgrades and improvements, including what's right here on top of the bed. So after 3.5 years, there are 3 things that if I were to do it all over again, absolutely be the first 3 things that I do. Number 1, the exhaust. Goes without saying, these things sound horrible from factory, but it's been livened up quite a bit. A few different times. This one's my favorite by far. Number 2, amp Research PowerSteps. They're so cool. And last but absolutely not least, this guy right here. You effectively got the biggest trunk in the world. It's been about 3 years now that this aluminum texturized tri-fold bed cover that's fairly budget friendly has been installed on the truck. And despite being around trucks my entire life, this was the first bed cover I've ever had. And now that I've lived with it for a few years, I couldn't live without it. And to be honest, I didn't have plans to ever take it off, but the folks over at Real Truck have a special treat for me, but for you guys as well. And it's not just the bed cover, it's a heck of a lot more. And I was really hoping today we would actually knock out our first automotive video in Project Molokai, which is currently just a big giant carport in my backyard. But if you guys have been following this series along, I do have an exciting update because yesterday we had a fairly large delivery. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, this is a 40 by 52 dream shop in my backyard, and we actually do live in an HOA managed neighborhood. And I somehow convinced them to let me do this. But with all that said, we had a lot of wall sheathing get delivered. We went with the Georgia Pacific force field. I did have a lot of positive comments in our last video about this stuff, so I'm excited to try this out and not going the cardboard route like the rest of the houses around here. And a whole bunch of 2x6x20s as well. Anyways, coming to a video near you, this is gonna continue 2x6 walls across the rake end, 2x4 framing across our eave ends, and then Georgia Pacific force field is gonna be our wall sheathing, and then eventually brick, and then eventually everything else. But it's so stinking cold, and the wind's gonna intensify throughout the afternoon. We're heading back to Paradise to do our Retrax EQ installation on the Trail Boss. Let's pull this truck in and get to work. Tell you what, guys, this thing ain't light. Whoa, there's gonna be some weight on the back. For as many functions that this Retrax EQ has, there's actually not that many components, which is a little bit of a sigh of relief. However, I have heard the installation on this takes a little while because you do have to run wires from the bed into the engine bay, and there's a lot of programming involved because this utilizes a lot of the stock OEM functions to function that guy there. This thing is very well thought out, and I cannot wait to be able to, you'll see here in a little bit. But it is kind of a sad day because we're getting rid of our good old tri-fold aluminum bed cover that we've had for over 3 years now. And I love it. I did forget to latch it once and the wind caught it and slammed closed and punctured it. But besides that, this thing, it's been phenomenal. The main question I got over 3 years, is this waterproof? No, it is not waterproof. It is water resistant. At this edge, that edge, and every once in a while, that edge, you get a little bit of water seeping in and kind of puddling up. So it's not anything significant, but I wouldn't leave any high value electronics there near the edges. And you can find this one in addition to that one on realtruck.com. Everything will be linked in the description below, but more on that later because it's time to go.
value.
Finally had a chance to clean all that out. It's kind of a pain in the butt when there's a bed cover on it, so she's clean, but there's a bunch of nicks in the paint and kind of bare spots where the bare metal's showing now from loading lumber and whatnot. So we're gonna touch all that up really quickly with just some paint, and then I need to spend some time with this instruction manual because I have no idea how to install this. And then I'll come back here, an absolute expert in 3, 2, 1. We've run our wire all the way through to the engine bay, starting here in the bed, through this little hole, runs down in between the cab and the bed. And we run it along the frame rail right next to all these other wires. I still need to zip tie this thing in place, but I'm gonna leave it loose until we're about finished up, and then I'll tie everything up nice and tidy at the very end. It goes along the frame rail. Right about here on the front end, it tucks through and runs just on the inside of our fender liner, up into the engine bay, and I gotta figure out where exactly I wanna put it for the positive side. And in the ground, I might just ground it here on the chassis like I've done with the other accessories that we have here. I try to keep this as clean looking as humanly possible, but it gets more and more difficult the more crap you put on your truck. So gotta think through how to make that look good. Now that that's all in place, it's time to lift up this massive hunk of aluminum and put it on there. And I tried to do it myself a moment ago. I'm gonna need some help. So with the Retrax bed cover, a few inches from the cab, we have enough room back here to kind of work. We had a lot of extra wire, the one that runs all the way up to the engine bay, so we curled it up and zip tied it nice and neat on the back side of the cover. We got it plugged in, we got our drain tubes run to the holes in the bed, and I went ahead and had to shrink that down a little bit, as you saw, because the hose is actually too large for that hole. I got a feeling it's going to be in the way, so I might think of another solution of where the water should drain. We might modify that here in the future, because these bed sides, this whole truck's gonna be about 6 inches wider when we're done with it. We now gotta figure out wiring up the module. Here we go! All right, so we got our new control module in here and all hooked up, and it's really easy, to be honest. It's color coordinated, everything's plug and play. You just gotta be extra careful to make sure that you're not pulling on these wires too much to pull the pins out, and you get them back in the correct area. So highly advise taking lots of pictures before you start, so you remember everything goes. And we are now on the application and using the app to configure all this stuff, and I actually found an update. So it just updated the firmware, so we're done. Start flashing our cabin module. It is always a little bit nerve-wracking playing around with that control module under the dash. Don't want to mess that up because that can get very expensive very quick. Got my glasses on because I'm getting old and I'm completely blind now. So while that's flashing, what we basically did, the white, the blue, the teal, and then this pink one back here, you pull those out, plug it into your new control module harness, and then plug the harness into those stock locations, and then all the wires are running. So we're gonna have to tuck these things out of the way. Quite a bit going on now up under here, but white, blue, teal, and then that pink one back there, that one. Now, if you don't have a push button start, they do include an additional gray harness that you utilize, but we don't need it. And it looks like we're all set. Went ahead and ran that power wire on this side, so that cap's gonna cover all of this mess, and we're gonna have our fuse, inline fuse right there. Got our ground right over there, and that cover looks so dang cool. I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't look as good as my trifold, but that looks way better than the trifold. Really clean, dang. All right, so we're gonna pair the thing to the truck now. We should be able to try it for the first time. All right, everything's paired up, everything's calibrated. We even have this really cool remote that we can actually stick on the truck and have a special code to utilize. And this has a bunch of functions. We can open the tailgate with it, we can close the tailgate with it, we can also lock and unlock the truck. Like the locks on the truck can unlock with this aftermarket remote. I wish I had this back when I was surfing in Hawaii. Your keys, when you surf, you just hide them in your wheel and people steal the cars because everybody's keys hidden in their wheels. But something like this would save you from that. I just gotta figure out where I wanna put this because most people put it there on the back of the cab. I might put it somewhere else. All right, we just did the calibration. Should we try it? 1, 2, 3. That is way cool. That's not good. It didn't close all the way. All right, we got this thing figured out. It didn't calibrate correctly the first time, but the second time it did. Oh my gosh. That's solid. Wow. They also supply you with this T weather stripping because you can put your aftermarket bed rail accessories and mount them down this channel. But if you don't have anything, you just simply put this rubber weather stripping to cover that gap. And then if someday we decide to do something like that, potentially with like an Overlander pre-runner build, so you have your regular stock keychain.
Oh, no way. That is... Oh, how much space do you lose though with that motor?
You lose...
The height.
Yeah, you still have about 13 inches from the bottom to the canister. So I thought about that, but you're actually not losing much. And to be honest, mostly it's all wasted space unless you're like really trying to stack up.
I like that, that's cool. That's like having a sunroof in your truck bed. 2, 3, go!
Been a little while since you've seen this guy, but it's about time he gets to work. Oots. Yeah, brother. All right, guys, you are joining us this evening for the only opinion that actually matters. And it's walking that way. There she is. Okay, but the funny part about this truck is it's actually hers. I tend to drive that and a lot of the other vehicles that hardly run, like the Mercedes. The test is, how do you open your brand new fancy Retrax EQ bed cover?
You push one of these 4 options 3 times.
Hit unlock 3 times. Look at that. This is not safe at all, boys. Fire goes back in the fire. So our bed cover from Retrax has the optional LED light, and in the close, your new electric bed cover.
Hit lock 3 times.
Nailed it. It does make some noise, closing and opening. What's also pretty cool, if my wife decides to put me in here for whatever reason.
You guys want to go for a drive?
There's actually a manual release. See it?
Oh.
But then to lock it back, you just push it right back into the tracks. Oh, that's really bright. Hello. I think it's really solid. I really like this bed cover. You can feel the weight a little bit. It is heavier than the trifold, so if you're going for straight light weights and budget, I would go with the hardcover trifold, the Gator EFX. But if you're going for more of the top end trim, and you have the budget, this is a phenomenal option. It does have an anti-pinch mode, so you're not gonna get decapitated if you stick your head in there. Don't stick your head in there. But it does also have kind of a cinch mode where you can actually clamp something down if it's sticking above your bed. Wanna clamp that sucker in there. I'll press on, release back a few inches. Do it one more time, 3 locks. She's on there. Last thing I'm going to show you guys is our Bluetooth remote. I have not mounted this just yet. They typically recommend you stick it there on the back of the cab. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it there or somewhere more inconspicuous, but it's really cool. You have a unique code that is specific to the device, and you enter that code, you can obviously open or close your bed cover. You can operate your tailgate or even lock or unlock your truck. So I'm going to enter my code that Real Truck gave me in this instruction card because I forgot how to use it. Open sesame. I undid my tailgate. Hold on. I need my glasses. Open sesame. Yes. Isn't that pretty cool? I like that. I love this truck. We have so much coming this year for this truck, and I cannot thank Real Truck enough for being a part of it. Not only the bed, but we have a lot of other components that are coming that is going to be the most expensive thing I have ever done on any vehicle in the history of the channel. If you guys want to check out this Retrax EQ bed cover, it is linked in description below, and technically if you go and purchase from that link, I get a little kickback from it, so thank you in advance. The Gator EFX, phenomenal option. Also, it's also linked in description below. And coming up soon, obviously with all of this stuff just recently being delivered, we're back on Project Molokai, guys. We are building our dream shop here in my backyard, this beautiful state of Texas. We'll catch you in a few days for our next video there. Till that day comes, y'all take care. Ahui hope. Aloha.
That's why you read the instructions before installing.
I did read the instructions, but I immediately forget what's on the instructions. That's why I don't read.